So today we are going to continue to review a little bit on angle-pair relationships. Again, this was your homework assignment on Wednesday night of last week to look at the difference between vertical, linear, complementary, supplementary. Again, we're just going to expand on that a little bit today while I'm gone. A few quick announcements before we get started on some material. Even though, again, I am not in class today, I'm on campus and I will be here after school today for any makeup work that you need to come and talk to me about, any quizzes or any missing homework assignments. Come talk to me after school today. Also, on Wednesday, it is an early release day. However, we are going to have a quiz covering what we're reviewing today in class, what we did last week, vertical angles, linear pair, adjacent angles, complementary, and supplementary angles. And that will be covering on our quiz next week. Just to review some key elements of these, a pair of vertical angles, again, are always going to be congruent to one another. And again, get that word nailed in to your mind. That means the same. So vertical angles are always congruent, while linear pair are always supplementary. Okay, which means they have a sum, again, of 180 degrees. Should be reviewed, but again, I want to make sure everybody's on the same page and aware of what that means. So those are our big takeaways, if you want to call them takeaways, of vertical angles and linear pair. So now that we have those key properties down, let's go ahead and try an example problem. So again, all we know here in this little diagram is that the measure of angle 2 is 52 degrees. Okay, I'm told to find the measures of 1, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to go ahead and write in that angle 2, right there, 52 degrees. Now again, we probably want to start by looking at our other vertical angle. Vertical angles are always congruent. And again, we said earlier 2 and 4 are vertical. So those two would be the same. Now again, to find our linear pair, the linear pair are always supplementary. So we're going to want to subtract that measure. Okay, from 180 degrees, and we're left with 128. Again, now we notice these two, angle 1 and 3, are vertical, so we can say that this one here is also 128 degrees. Now we'll notice linear pairs are supplementary. 128 plus 52 are the 180, 128, 52 are 180, 52 and 128, 180, 52 and 128, 180. Vertical are congruent, and again, that problem is solved. I'm going to struggle a little bit and had some questions last week when we threw some variables in there. What I really want you to notice is that, first off, identify what type of angles they are. So these two angles, okay, you can kind of think for a minute to identify them. Again, we only have one of two choices. They're either vertical or linear at this point. We don't have really anything else. And so hopefully you're noticing that these are vertical. Now I want you to, again, remember what I said the big takeaway of vertical angles are. They're always congruent. And again, that just means they're the same. In other words, these two angles have an equal measure. So when you set up your equation, you can just write 2x take away 11 is equal to 105 degrees. Okay. So now we'll just go ahead and solve that algebraically. Again, what I just want you to notice is we put the equal sign in there for a reason, because vertical angles are equal. Okay, so let's go ahead and add 11 to both sides. Oops. Okay, so 2x is equal to 116. Again, we'll go ahead and divide both sides by 2. And x should have a value of 58. Okay, and if we plug that back in to check our work, it should be, again, 2 times 58, take away 11. And again, this would just be a verification at this point. We don't actually need to find the measure of that whole angle. So 116, take away 11. We'll notice it's the exact same thing. Okay, but again, we had our original answer here in black as x is equal to 58. Okay, so now that we have, so with this example now, Again, notice what type they are first, and probably the most common mistake, I'm going to write it out. I don't want you to write it out. Probably the most common mistake I'll see for this problem is 6x plus 19 equals x. Right? And that would be correct for vertical angles. However, these two are linear. In other words, is what you're saying with this equation is that this obtuse angle has the same measure as this acute one. Again, that's incorrect. So what we want to make sure to do is we want to make sure, let's erase that there, to show what linear pairs actually do. So let's get my pencil here, and again, they're linear, and again, all that means is that they add to 180. So when we write 6x plus 19 plus x, that's what we're showing. This angle plus this one add to 180 degrees. So now we just combine our like terms. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. So 6x and x is 7x plus 19 equals 180 degrees. Okay, now we'll go ahead and subtract 19 on both sides. So 7x equals 161. Divide both sides by 7. X equals 23. Again, let's just check our work. If we're saying x is 23, so we're saying this angle, well, that yellow did not turn out too well. That's okay. So that angle is 23 degrees. The other one up here, we would do 6 times 23 plus 19. So 6 times 23 is 138 plus 19, which is 157 degrees. So in other words, we want to just check to verify that 157 and 23 is 180, and when we add them, of course they are, because that's how we set up our equation. That's what we wanted to do. Okay. So again, our final answer though was x is 23. Works out. I have a 157 degree angle and a 23 degree angle. So again, now that we've added some different components now, so notice we have a variable in every single angle, you're just going to have to use some judgment as to how to set up an equation. So notice a lot of students will see, okay, I got vertical angles here, 2x minus 20, y minus 12, and so a lot of students will write, and I don't want you to write this right now, they'll write 2x minus 20 equals y minus 12. Well, now that's correct. However, you're not going to be able to solve for either or both of those variables using that equation. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And instead we'll have to use something different. Notice our other vertical angles, 3y minus 8 equals 6x, subtract 32. That won't really help you. However, notice I do have like terms here with a linear pair. So what I want to set up is then 6x minus 32 plus 2x minus 20 equals what a linear pair is, 180. And again, it's all just going back to the basics that I've taught you. Linear pair is supplementary, vertical angles are congruent. From here, it's straight algebra. So we'll combine our like terms, 6x, 2x, so 8x. Okay, we have a negative 32 combining with a negative 20, so subtract 52. Add 52 to both sides. Okay, so 8x equals 232. And again, after we divide both sides by 8, x will have a value of 29. And I'm going to put that just right off to the left-hand side over here for now. I don't have a lot of room on my iPad, so I'm going to have to erase some of this. But again, I want to make sure that you're able to copy that down, so you can go ahead and get that down as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of some of this here, and I'm going to get my eraser out. Well, that is really slow. Okay, so again with the next one, hopefully you can kind of see if you want to get started while I'm slowly erasing this. It might take me a couple of years. Go ahead and see if you can set up an equation to solve for y. Hopefully by the time you're done, I'll be done erasing this. I know this looks kind of weird to see this whole thing erased. Supposedly this is my biggest eraser on this, which is kind of strange. Okay, almost done. There we go. Okay, so let's go back to this problem again, and I want to solve for y now. So notice it's very similar, and probably the easiest way. There's other ways to do this, and I think you could kind of figure out some ways to do it by plugging in.
Mr. Torres, please call extension 4814.
And of course, calling people up to the office right now.
Please call extension 4814.
So probably the easiest way is to plug in, to set up the same way. So by writing y minus 12 plus 3y minus 8 equals 180. Again, it's a linear pair, so we can combine, very similar to like the last one. 4y, negative 12 and negative 8, so minus 20. And after we add 20 to both sides, get 4y equals 200. And let's do divide, so y should equal 50. There's our two values. We could plug them in to figure out what everything else is equal to, but we'll go ahead and just stop right there. So your assignment now is to complete worksheets 3.4 and 3.6. They are front to back, so it's actually just technically one worksheet. I'm going to have you turn in what you complete today. As far as your homework tonight goes, I want you to complete the linear pairs and vertical angles assignment in Schoology. It looks like a quiz. Technically, I made it as a quiz, but it's as a homework grade. Okay, so there's 10 questions on there. Once you turn it in, it will get graded, and that's the grade I'm going to put in to the grade book. It's going to be great practice for your actual quiz on Wednesday when this is worth a whole lot more. So if you make mistakes, that's okay, but just see if you can figure out what you did on your mistakes. Now, if you get 10 out of 10, then obviously you're doing great. But this assignment only is going to be open from basically 3 o'clock this afternoon to 8:20 tomorrow when the first hour starts. So that is your window of time frame to get it done. And I'll send out the text reminder. I'll also send out a Schoology reminder. But make sure you get that done and bring any questions back tomorrow. Tomorrow, again, I will not be here, but we'll be looking at complementary, supplementary, and doing pretty similar assignments. Have a great day, and come talk to me after school if you still have questions.